Welcome to episode 1 of Rainbow Popcorn, where the brothers from Two Drink Cinema, we're reviewing queer cinema and camp classics.
Yes, we are.
3 C words and a Q in that sentence.
Q.
So, just bloody shook the... Sorry about that for bumping the camera for anyone on the YouTube.
Yeah.
If you've listened to any other ones, you'll know that it's all a little loose. We just kind of are going with whatever happens. Sometimes the camera moves.
Quality
sometimes
over quantity.
we
That
haven't
makes no
done
sense.
any preparation, but we're here. This is episode 1. To set the scene a little bit, people have already listened to the intro, but to set the scene a little bit, we are going to review and discuss queer movies on our own scale.
Yes, our own pride scale.
So we have invented the pride scale, and we're going to give each one a score out of 5 each,
Yep.
and it's going to total a score of 50.
5 plus 5.
5 times 5.
Plus 5. Okay, yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
The pride stands for presentation.
Yes.
So how well the movie looks, how good it looks.
Yeah.
Representation.
Ooh, big one.
Big one in the queer movies. But we're not just going to talk about queer representation. We're going to talk broadly about representation. In amongst that will also be how well the queer story at the essence of the movie is represented.
Yes.
Like the realisticness.
And if it's true story,
Yes.
how well they did that.
Yeah. Iconicness. Whether it has queer icons and how well they're portrayed, whether it stars a queer icon or is about a queer icon.
Or how iconic the movie has become.
Yes. Dialogue. This also
How many times they say the word...
is also will cover the acting,
Yeah.
but we needed it to start with D for the PRIDE acronym.
Yes.
So dialogue, how well the script is written, how well the actors portray and act in the movie.
Yep.
And then E is for entirety. Then we score the movie overall.
Yes. How overall out of 5 we enjoyed the movie.
So that's setting the pride scale. We'll go through it. We'll discuss the movie.
Yeah.
Now, the movie we have chosen for episode 1 is about, allegedly, an event that allegedly started the whole
allegedly.
gay rights movement.
It's a thing that happened.
It is a thing that happened, but historically there is some discussion about whether or not this was the one event.
Yes.
Anyway, the movie is called Stonewall.
Yeah.
The 2015 version, not the 1995 super camp version that I also saw on IMDb.
Right.
It is Roland Emmerich directing.
Yes. If you can call it that.
Yeah. It stars...
People you've never heard of.
And Jonathan Rhys-Meyers.
Yeah.
Um,
And that other guy from The Thing.
Justin Irvin I've seen in things.
The guy that's the guy in the Sons of Anarchy. Rough looking dude.
He plays Bob.
What's his name? No. The old mafia dude that runs the thing.
Oh, he's good. Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman. Jesus.
Yeah. So starring
With the guy that used to
Jeremy
look like
Irvin, Johnny Beauchamp, Joey King, Caleb Landry Jones, Matt Craven, David Cooper. We don't need to go through all of them. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is probably the only person you've heard of, but you will have seen Jeremy Irvin in things. He is English.
Right.
Shall we start with general thoughts, or shall we start with going through and talk about the presentation of the movie?
Let's start going through, because if I start about my general thoughts, I might just go on a rant.
Yeah.
Presentation-wise, the look of the movie, it looks good.
See,
cinematographically.
My issue... So I have a couple of issues. The opening starts with those scenes, and it has the typewriter over the top.
Yeah.
which is a very Roland Emmerich thing to do.
Right. Okay.
But it also sets it up as being a bit like a documentary,
yeah.
right? But
Which is a
none of
pity.
the rest of the movie looks like that.
There wasn't enough of that kind of, like other movies do that are like based on a true story. Sometimes do the actual shooting of the movie mixed in with like historical footage.
Yeah.
Like Milk, for instance.
So
If we're keeping it queer.
it does that opening that makes it look like a documentary and the typewriting comes across. But then it goes into this very stylized, pretty look of Christopher Street.
Yeah.
And I
like
wasn't...
It was almost like fucking Wizard of Oz.
Well, I thought it was almost like Steven Spielberg's West Side Story.
Yes, okay.
And I've never
Yeah.
been to Christopher Street in the now time, but I certainly don't think it looked that nice.
I have to say it's the
in
prettiest
1969.
that, New York's ever looked.
Yeah. Well,
Especially the somewhat, I think, a bit dodgy part.
certainly in 1969,
Yeah.
I don't think Christopher Street, if any of our listeners were around Christopher Street in 1969, feel free to get in touch. We probably could have talked to you before we reviewed the Stonewall movie. But
And yeah.
I certainly don't think it looked this pretty or almost stylized
Yeah.
in 1969. But that's what it does. But it also takes away from the seriousness of the events and the police brutality.
Yes.
Like everything looks really nice.
Yeah.
So that when they're getting bashed by the police, particularly when Danny's getting bashed when he first gets bashed by the police,
Yeah.
it just looked nice.
Maybe, I don't know if it could have been a choice of it looks nice at the start, everything's kind of all right, but not. And then once the riot happened,
it still looks nice though.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say. That could have been a choice, but he didn't do that.
No, he didn't. I just, I'm not sure about the look of it. The opening, if you just showed someone the opening and gave them a choice of 5 directors, they'd pick Roland Emmerich.
I also, if I was making a movie about the Stonewall riots, I would make it very brutal.
If I was making a movie about the Stonewall riots,
I'd make it
about the Stonewall riots.
I'd make it historically factual as well.
I think he's done I actually think this is going to come up also in the entirety bit at the end. I think he's done a disservice to the Stonewall riots by making this a failed love story of a Twinkie farm boy. And then just sticking the riot in the middle.
I found it offensive, this movie. I was like offended by it.
When I started watching it...
And I wasn't there.
No. When I started watching it, I texted you.
Yeah.
And I said, can we change P for presentation to pandering? Because I felt like the whole thing was like, I've got to make a movie about the Stonewall riots that straight people can watch.
Yeah, but But like,
no, but
I get what you're saying, but I don't think even straight people would watch this. It's just a shit movie. We're skipping ahead to the end.
No, I do think he's tried to make a story that's about Stonewall, but he's made it a movie that anyone can watch. And if you think about the main character, and even Ron Perlman's character says, all-American boy Daniel.
Yes.
Roland Emmerich has made the decision to centre the story on an all-American boy.
Yes.
Which if you're telling a true, from what I've read, story of Christopher Street in the 60s... There would have been.
There would have been, yes.
But he's not thrown the first brick.
No.
And
I yelled at my TV.
There is a lot of conjecture about who did throw the first brick.
But it was not a white,
but
cisgendered male.
It definitely was not, a boy that looked like Daniel.
So
that I think comes under presentation as well.
I don't have an issue with putting a fictional characters in a movie around a historical event, right?
No, and
Forrest Gump.
in all of my reading about Stonewall is that there's so many conflicting accounts of who
Yeah.
did what and how it started, and even how the vibe of that first night of rioting was, that I totally understand them distilling all of these stories of all of these people that were there into essentially 5 or 6 characters.
Yeah.
But I don't think he made good choices
No.
of the main,
No.
and also deciding to make him fall in love with the writer.
Yeah.
And then, did we really need him to be in love with the quarterback from his high school?
No.
No. So I
The general shots of the movie and the quality of the appearance on screen
it was shot well
was good.
because he's a good director.
They didn't present the story well.
No.
Its presentation.
Okay, so I'm going to give, out of 5, I'm going to give the presentation a 2.5,
Right.
because it was constructed well,
Yep.
but I don't think he chose the best look for
Yep.
the vibe of oppressed gays in the 60s.
Yep.
And I don't think he chose the right look of the main character.
No, he did not. I will give it a 2
Okay.
for kind of the same reasons, just a bit harsher.
You're fired up. Representation.
I have to say,
Okay.
if you were someone who was like, oh, I want to know more about the start of like
Don't watch this
the
movie.
Gay Liberation Front.
Yeah.
Don't, like, if this was the first movie you watched and like, oh yeah, that's accurate. No. Like, no. There's much better movies of it and better documentaries. I'm sure we'll get to them at some point in the future.
Yeah,
It's just, I don't know. No.
That can go a little bit more into representation.
Yes.
The main characters were very, very cis white.
He was.
Daniel was.
Yeah. Trevor was.
Trevor was. Bob was.
Bob was.
But Bob and Trevor are real.
Yeah.
But the Ray's little group of girls.
Well,
We're
Marsha P. Johnson is real.
But considering the level of involvement that Marsha P. Johnson had in the real life,
Yeah.
their character was not represented well.
It is a terrible and offensive depiction. If I knew Marsha P. Johnson, I don't know.
Yeah.
There'd be many people alive that would. I'd be offended. Like, made her look just like a
Dumb screaming queen.
ditzy, I'm just here for a good time joke kind of thing.
Yep.
And maybe it was at some point and then it changed after the riots. But my idea of historical fact is that she was much more involved.
Yeah. And
Rather than being handcuffed to
the mob guy.
the mob guy.
That didn't happen.
Yeah, I didn't think that
So,
happened.
I've done some
I
research.
actually think in historical accounts, she wasn't there at the start of it.
No, so there's a lot of story that she threw the first brick.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that's, the kind of urban myth of who did throw the first brick of the Stonewall riots. And Marsha P. Johnson has come out and said, I wasn't even there when the rioting started.
Yeah.
But in the movie, she's in the club.
In the club.
Which is not correct.
Yeah.
But then they've also gone to a lot of effort to make Marsha Johnson a whole character, but they're not really gone to any effort for this Storm de Laverie, who is
The lesbian.
who is another major figure of the actual Stonewall riots, who was that person that jumped in and out of the car. But
Yes.
other than that, there's
Didn't come up in the thing.
didn't come up at all.
You know what I would have done? Like, if I was making this movie,
Yes.
I would have burned the script.
Yeah.
At first, I wouldn't have called it Stonewall.
Well,
Because what they could have done, rather than go back on this story about this poor little fucking white farm boy,
yep.
give me a background in the lead up to the riots.
This is how the movie
and more
went
of
for
that
me.
kind of
Yeah.
why it happened that night then. Like, what was it about that night? Other than, they're taking it. Oh, well, we'll fight back now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, show more raids than
There
one.
didn't seem to be a development and a progression of anger and resentment towards the cops.
I got that Danny got angry that night because he was jealous because Jonathan Rhys-Meyers was hooking up with someone else.
Yeah. So the Stonewall riots
Was-
happened
yeah.
because a twink got cheated on.
Yeah.
There's
you go.
your gay history for this night.
Do not take that snippet and put it out there.
Yeah, no, we're going to get cancelled
We're gonna get
20
cancelled
minutes
before
into
we
our
even
first
start.
episode.
So the representation. This is what I was
No,
saying.
but if you do boil down the movie to that, which is what it seems like, that shows how badly the movie was made.
This does not represent these events
No.
and how it happened and what was leading up to it and the people that were involved and the people that started it.
Yeah. He's not told the story of the Stonewall riots well enough to name the movie Stonewall.
That's what I wouldn't call it Stonewall. You could have it. That's what I'm saying. Have the fictional story of farm boy gets kicked out, comes to New York
Yeah.
in June 1969.
Call it Christopher Street.
Call it Denny. You know what I mean?
No, but if you want to make this movie of
You
the
could make it-
struggles of
yeah.
a gay kid moving to New York
Around
in the 60s,
that time.
name it Christopher Street.
But then don't lead it up to this point
Yeah.
to then have a riot and then have a fucking soppy ending of I'm going to go home and randomly show up at this guy's house that I went to high school with.
Yeah. But also,
God.
the riot, it's called Stonewall. The riot goes for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
In reality, the riot went for 3 hours.
And there were other ones on other days.
Like 4 nights.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of back and forth of the the tactical police force and the rioters. There was a lot of back and forth,
Patrons,
just
yeah.
not like, we're here, we're going to do our chorus line, and then they move forward, so we leave.
Yeah.
There was so much more to the actual riots that happened. I
thought they were going to kill someone.
yeah,
And I was like, no.
no.
There's a hilarious video of some drag queens talking about people died. Nobody died at Stonewall. I'll show you later.
Okay.
People out there, if they're listening, should know.
Get the link and we'll put it in the
link.
episode description.
Yeah. People died. Nobody died at Stonewall. It's quite funny. Anyway.
In terms of representation, there was, but not enough, I don't think. And like you've said, Marsha P. Johnson is not represented well. The real people, I think, are not represented well. I don't think the movie's deep enough to really get an idea of what that Malachi society is like or what Bob was actually like.
Yeah, because he's just this creepy guy on a park bench that looks
He just
after
sits
your
in the
stuff.
park bench and I'll look after your suitcase while you're turning tricks.
But also, the thing I didn't like about the movie, maybe this was more presentation, was for the first half an hour of the movie, Danny just had this look on his face. Like,
Yeah.
I am shocked. I'm like, what were you expecting? What did you come to?
Yeah.
How did you know to go to Christopher Street?
No, but he knew to come to Christopher Street because it's where the gays are.
But then where all the gays are there, he's like,
Oh, there's
I'm
gays.
So, it's almost like Roland Emmerich was like, look uncomfortable. Okay, good. Hold that facial expression for for the first half an hour
for
of
the
the
next
movie.
6 days of shooting.
Yeah.
And it would be daunting.
Yeah, but you know,
But-
yeah.
It's not like he's come to Christopher Street to find himself. He knows he's gay.
Yes.
He knows he's not mentally ill, like his father says.
Yep.
He knows he's not going to be able to knock up the cheerleader and pretend to live a straight like Joe the quarterback.
Yep.
And so that's why he's come to Christopher Street. So the shock maybe, yes, because it's the first time he's seen anything like that in the
It would
open.
be a culture shock, yes.
But not the discomfort
Yes.
and the, oh my God, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
You know what you're doing. You chose to come there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mum at the end at the queer parade, she should have been much more uncomfortable.
That is... I was like, I've had enough now. There's
But-
no way that mum takes the sister
No.
to that fucking parade.
But I teared up.
I knew you would. I knew you would.
For those that don't listen to Two Drink Cinema, in our Two Drink Cinema scale, there is a score for whether or not I cried,
Because Lee's a crier.
because I'm a crier. So,
Represent...
representation.
Oh,
One more thing.
I know this one. Yeah.
It was very superficial and too stereotyped.
Yeah.
Did they all have to be turning tricks?
Well, a lot of them were.
No,
That's
but
the only way they survived.
Did all of the main characters in
Yeah.
trying to tell this story
Yeah.
need to be rent boys? Or can we tell the story of the people living in Christopher Street with other characters?
But if we're talking about representing the history correctly, if the vast majority of those
That's true.
street queens, right?
Yep.
Of the Marsha P. Johnsons and people who worked at, that's the majority of what they did and how they survived, then you should show it.
And I guess in realness,
But
in reality,
also, would Danny have gone in? This is where fiction fucks it up. Would Danny have gone in that quickly? He's, I don't want to say passable,
yes,
but you know,
but he's also lost. And he's also not sure if he's going to be able to go to Columbia. If he knew he could
Yeah.
go in and go to Columbia,
yeah,
he just goes in and passes.
yes.
But I think
But then he started a whole revolution, so then he can't pass.
That's
'cause
true.
He's like the face of gay liberation.
yeah, he's the first one that said gay power. He said
Yeah.
it badly, but he said
Power!
it.
I
It's
expected some sort of like Power Ranger thing to come out. It was like Judy, Barbara,
they find
Liza.
a mega gay,
Yeah,
and then that takes down
yeah, that
Stonewall.
takes down
Just
the
with
police.
one step, Megazord
This
gays.
one flick of its wig.
It's the right colours.
I tell you what. I'm just gonna
There was
make
a
that
gay-
quick- I'm
there
gonna
was
write
a
that. I'm gonna write
Gay
that
Power
movie.
Ranger,
The pink one.
the pink one.
It was
No.
a bit style over substancy.
No, what I thought about the stereotypes, and I guess that connects to, they didn't give any actual story about Trevor or Bob or
Yeah.
that guy that was saying we should
Frank.
be straight acting,
Frank,
basically.
Frank.
Um,
Fuck, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name.
But also, yes, in reading in the reality of the Stonewall riots, a lot of the people rioting were those street queens, like you said.
Yeah.
But we didn't get much depth into, because they're queer, they can't get real jobs.
Frank Kameny.
Because
Yes.
they're queer, they have to live on the street and turn tricks.
Yeah.
He didn't give us any of that depth because he was too busy showing how much of a little struggle this gay boy had in his little
Yeah.
Iowa or whatever town.
I don't need the flashback of
No.
him being gay.
But also,
We know that.
the movie starts with the riots,
Yeah.
and then there's a whole title card where Roland Emmerich says 3 months earlier. But then every time it flashes back to high school, no name of the
Yes.
time. I got really confused. I thought he actually went back to home
Right.
and
No,
was
I-
going to football practice
Right.
at Columbia. But then his
Columbia.
dad was the coach
Yeah.
of the football team at
Yeah.
Columbia.
Yeah.
And then, oh, no, he's in high school.
But I will say, I've never seen the word faggot written so nicely on a locker. Very good penmanship.
Oh, yes. Very good graffiti.
It's like,
and
oh,
shit.
that's That's quite nice.
Good, they've done their calligraphy. Yeah, that wasn't written in anger.
No, that was like
Written to make a point,
FAG.
but still equally offensive.
Yes. Just because it looks nice, it doesn't mean it's a nicer word.
No. Representation, I'm going to give it a 1.5. Because it's not super representative of reality, and it's not, I don't think, representative of the breadth of people that would have been there in 1969 at the riots.
I am tempted to give it... I don't want to give it a 0.
And I also think I'm scoring it lower on the representation scale because it's sacrificed the reality of representation in order to potentially appeal to a broader audience.
I'm going to give it a 0.5.
Oh,
There is
harsh.
representation in there, but it's done badly.
Yeah.
So you're making a queer movie. You're making a queer movie, so the representation factor's already kind of there
Yeah.
in terms of diversity.
But if you make a queer movie...
But you have to represent the characters and the story. If it's made if it's a fake story, wouldn't have a problem.
Well, yeah, you can make a fake story and then just slip Stonewall in.
That's what
Like you
this
said,
movie,
Forrest Gump.
Yeah, that's
and
what this movie kind of was.
But it was called
But
Stonewall.
don't call it Stonewall
Yeah.
and say it's about Stonewall.
Like they didn't call Umbrella Academy Season 2 The Assassination of JFK.
No.
They just made the Umbrella Academy series and then JFK was in there.
Yeah.
Like, which then gives them the license to move around with facts.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie is about
This
Stonewall,
is about an
but it wasn't.
historical event.
But it
and
wasn't.
we are going to not tell you the real story.
No. So it's a 1.5 representation for me for the same reasons, but you're being harsher.
Yes.
Iconicness.
I'm sensing a theme.
Iconicness. It's an iconic event. I'm just going to say a 1 straight away because it's an iconic event, but it's not about it.
It's an iconically bad movie.
No.
People say this is the worst gay movie ever made.
Well, I found this article when we were looking up Roland Van Emmerich, and the headline is, because we weren't sure if Roland Van Emmerich was gay or not. And so...
I'm really hoping he wasn't, because this is just...
But then the article on gaystarnews.com was maybe written by Brett, because it didn't hold back. Director of worst gay film ever to tie the knot this summer. And he's married someone 33 years his younger. So Roland Van Emmerich's now become that guy in the diner at the start of the movie.
Yes. I think of a bad movie, right?
Yeah, we've done a few on Two Drink Cinema.
And think of
RV, Robin Williams RV.
think of a percentage on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, bad movies get like 15, 20%.
Really?
Yeah.
So if a movie was at a 9%,
Oh,
what do you reckon?
jeez.
But a 5.3 on the IMDb.
Out of 10.
Whereas I reckon we've watched movies worse than this that have had a worse IMDb score. A Mum for Christmas.
Con Air.
R.I.P. Olivia.
Con Air gets very high, but that gets high for the cult factor.
Blu-ray.com,
Yeah.
that's a thing apparently,
Yep.
gives it 2 out of 10.
Jeez.
Yeah. 2 out of 10. Is the movie Stonewall accurate? Speaking to The Guardian, Stonewall historian David Carter called the film a very lame and inaccurate portrayal.
Well, this is what I'm talking about when we're rating the iconicness of the movie.
It's not iconic.
It is an iconic event. So there's two sides to the iconicness.
Yeah.
Is how much queer icon is in the movie,
Yeah.
and then how iconic the movie has become as part of the queer culture.
It's become iconic in a bad way.
So the event is iconic. The name Stonewall is iconic.
Yes.
Right, so iconic that there's a bar on Oxford Street
Yeah.
in Sydney named Stonewall.
Yeah.
So that raises the iconicness. But then if you're going to portray such an iconic event so
have to
badly
do it
and
well.
so inaccurately,
Yeah.
I said, is he just using the name to try to tell a queer story but get it through. Just make a movie about a boy that has to move to New York because he's gay. You're Roland Emmerich. No, but you're Roland Emmerich. You can make a movie like that. And maybe a tsunami comes and wipes out Christopher Street at the end of it because you're Roland Emmerich.
And
but
then he goes to fucking Area 51. That was probably before.
That was Independence
51?
Day. Yeah, Area 51.
Yeah, cool.
Independence Day. The tsunami is day after tomorrow.
Yeah. Did you do that 2012 movie as well? Because that's the day after tomorrow.
No, he did the day after tomorrow.
What's the movie that the day after tomorrow, and it was like at the exact same time?
2012, I think.
And they're the same movie.
Yeah, 2012. It's like Deep Impact and
Deep Impact.
No, Deep Impact and Armageddon are the same movie, same year.
Yeah.
But the day after tomorrow, there's a movie called 2012.
Yeah, with your mate John Cusack in it.
Oh no, that was Roland Emmerich.
There you go, because they look exactly the same.
Oh, then who did the day after tomorrow?
Probably him as well.
Oh, 2004 film The Day After Tomorrow. Jake Gyllenhaal, Dennis Quaid was Roland Emmerich.
There you go. If you look at the poster, it's like he said, "Hey, remember that poster you made for me for The Day After Tomorrow? Yeah, can you just make it but change the title?" They look the same.
Oh my goodness.
He's not a smart man. Speaking of not smart men, more on Danny.
The Day After Tomorrow is a much better movie than Stonewall, and it got a 6.4 on IMDb. So iconicness. How are we rating the iconicness? So I'm going to...
I'll tell you what, in terms of icons, Judy gets a mention.
I'm giving it a 1.5. Is Judy better than Barbara?
I think Judy gets more of a mention in this than in that Renee Zellweger movie, Judy.
I think Judy gets more of a mention in this than Marsha P. does.
Johnson.
Yeah.
I think...
I'm giving it a 1.5 because
Judy.
It's an iconic event.
I'm giving it a... Fuck. Don't know.
0.5.
I'm giving it a 0.5 as well, just because I'll give it something.
Okay. Dialogue.
Can
I start with something from the end?
Okay. Yeah, that's not how generally it works, but sure.
People write stories, okay?
Yeah.
And I've studied literature in my time.
Oh, there you go, okay.
And I've attempted to write some short stories in my time.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get to the end of a story and you go, I want these characters to have a conversation, but I'm not really sure how this conversation should end. So you get a character to say, sorry, I need to go.
He's
I'm going to miss
you, kid.
No, you get the character to say, sorry, I need to go. I'm going to miss my bus. If you
it's like, there's no bus. I was like, sorry, I got to go. I'm going to miss my bus.
No, but like, let's say
off.
You moved 2 states away from me, right?
Yeah.
Because you had to go to uni, right? And you haven't seen me for a year and a half.
Yes.
And then you decide to come back and visit.
Randomly at your house while you're fixing your car?
Are you just coming for about an hour? Because that's what Danny seems to do. He seems to come into town, say hi to Joe, expect Joe to leave his pregnant wife for him, even though he didn't even want to be gay in the first place.
Yeah.
Then goes and speaks to his sister.
He goes to the sister after Joe.
Yeah. The sister who he wrote at least once a week for a year.
The dad doesn't even show up.
The dad shows up after. But then...
Oh, that's right, in the car. That was stupid.
Would you wouldn't have just booked an afternoon. Like, he's like,
Yeah, what was the plan?
I'm going to go. I got to miss my bus.
What was the plan here?
To
see Joe, and if Joe was like, all right, let's run away together.
Sorry, I can't. I got to miss my bus.
I gotta miss my bus. Come with me on this bus to Columbia.
Yeah.
University, not the country.
And you can meet my, what would be for Joe, frighteningly queer friends. Like, if Danny looked uncomfortable, you rocked up on Christopher Street, imagine how Joe would have felt. Imagine how Joe would have been going into that diner and that queen hitting on him. Anyway, that's a bad dialogue thing for me from Roland Emmerich.
Hi, I'm Trevor. -1. Like, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. Terrible.
He's a good actor.
He is terrible in this.
Yeah.
I was talking to Mum the other day about I watched this movie and I'm like, I saw Mum not long after. I needed to vent. She's like, what?
Mum's watching The Tudors too.
With Jonathan Rhys-Meyers.
Yeah.
Oh, and the guy that plays Henry VIII. I go, is that Jonathan Rhys-Meyers? And
Yeah.
she's like, well, he's very good. I'm like, he's in this movie. He's shit.
Yeah.
Like, but she's like, what? I'm like, nah,
Well-
it's terrible. He looks sleazy. Well, he is sleazy.
They obviously chose the look over any acting ability because even Justin Irvin is a good actor and he's done some good things.
Yeah.
But in this, he's not great. He can't maintain an accent.
He can't maintain an emotion.
No. The dialogue is very simple and very stereotypical.
The Kong,
Yes,
they were all right.
they were better than Ray.
You know who the best actor in the movie was? The
Who?
sister, Joey
Yeah.
King.
Because she was also like, what do you mean you're fucking catching a bus this afternoon? You've come all this way and you're only staying for 10 minutes?
Take me with you. How old is she? I'm going to look it up quickly.
Okay.
She's the third credited person in the movie.
Well, because she's
She's
go-
15.
main star, best actor.
I may know them from Survivor. An American Dad. 15 she was.
Well done, Joey King.
And you outacted everybody.
Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, who's
Yeah.
played Henry VIII.
Um,
Can I say one line that's terrible?
I kind of fell into deep water?
Yeah, no, that's terrible.
I don't know what that was in reference to.
Before,
So stay.
they were just like talking, and then all of a sudden they got angry.
Who?
And then it was just the little group,
Right.
the main group.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they got angry.
Friends, but
What, Phoebe, Joey, Ross?
Danny's
Who's Ross?
so Rachel.
Danny's so Rachel. And Orphan Annie is
Orphan
so
Annie
Ross.
is- I was going to say Chandler.
No, the Beetle
Marsha
one.
P. Johnson is depicted as Phoebe. God.
Yeah. No, at some point they're like, oh, we're angry now. And they're like, why are you so angry? And the direct quote
I've
is,
had enough.
yeah. Well, that's basically how it goes.
Yeah.
I am angry. Oh, I am angry too. What are you angry about? And then they said, "Rrr," and society oppressing and hating us because we're gay.
How can that dialogue like that makes it seem it's right? It's written for a straight audience.
Yeah.
When it's like, no. We have to make it as straight as possible.
Yeah.
How can we straighten this up?
No, but also, how can I tell a movie without special effects, maybe Roland Emmerich?
Yeah.
He's never really had to write dialogue.
Dialogue has not been. He's not done movies where the main focus has been what people are saying.
No, the main focus has been the special effects of
Yeah.
the countless tsunamis and natural disasters.
Yeah. Or aliens.
So
Or 20. No,
He's-
that's the same thing.
he's decided not to tell the story through actions or character development or character interactions. It's just going to have one character saying to another character that's in exactly the same situation,
Yeah.
just explain why they're angry. And society oppressing and hating us because we're gay.
Yeah.
No.
The acting overall was bad.
I'm giving it a
Totally unnecessary scene. What was that?
scene
Something-
1 through
Oh.
15.
And then he gets kidnapped by the mafia?
So, I did some research into the mafia, right?
They did own Stonewall and a lot of...
They did
Gay
own a
bars.
lot of the gay bars because
Because it was illegal.
it was illegal for gays to drink together.
Yeah.
So gay bars couldn't get a license. You couldn't
Yeah.
also operate a gay bar. So they
can
had to be
congregate.
owned by people who could pay off the cops. So the
Yes.
mafia,
Yeah.
right? It was also like, it's like Roland Emmerich read the Wikipedia article that I read. Don't worry, people, I read more than just Wikipedia.
Yeah.
But they read the Wikipedia article, picked the things out that they want, and put that into the movie.
I feel like he was like... He picked stuff out that would make a good movie.
Like,
And he went like, ooh, mafia, yeah. Ooh, riot, yeah. Ooh, I need a white person in here.
but it was very much glossed over that the mafia were just doing it to make money and people got sick. Like, oh, don't buy that drink. They just wash it in water. You're going to get hepatitis. Have a beer. Move on.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they couldn't have a liquor license. They couldn't operate an actual kitchen, which meant they couldn't have dishwashers, which is why they just rinsed the glasses in water and used them straight away.
Right, okay.
But the Mafia did own...
It's BYO.
Yeah.
BYO glass.
The Mafia did own most of the gay bars in New York.
Yep.
The thing with the Mafia, though, was some of the cops that were involved with raiding Stonewall, particularly on that night and the couple of bits before, there was evidence that what the Mafia did was when they noticed someone that looked well-dressed...
In the bar.
Yeah, when they could blackmail Wall Street types...
Yes.
into giving them financial information. And so there's one throwaway line that the guy says about stolen bonds being linked back to the Mafia and Stonewall.
And because
actually...
those Wall Street types go there and give them information.
Yeah, that actually happened.
Yeah.
But doesn't need to be in the movie.
Or if you're going to put it in the movie, don't make it some offhanded remark.
Yeah. So I think from what I've read that it's a little bit of an excuse by that main...
detective guy.
Yeah, that main detective guy.
Oh, it's
he was like, no, I just kept raiding it because of the stolen bonds, not because he hated gays. Even though he was the head of morals.
Like he hated gays.
But he was head of morals.
But he was getting the Mafia.
Yeah. But so what was he doing?
It's like how they got Capone on tax things or something.
Yeah, they did.
Not actual
on tax evasion.
Being in the Mafia.
Evasion.
Tax evasion.
Now, evasion is the newsreader from The Simpsons says it wrong. He says
evasion, not evasion.
No, avoid.
Avoid and evasion. Yeah.
Instead of evasion, and someone tries to correct him, and he's like, "I'm Kent Brockman. If I want to say avoision, I'll say avoision." The word is evasion. I got my Simpsons reference in before you got any Family Guy referencing in.
There you go.
So in terms of
that's all I got.
Dialogue.
Dialogue is terrible.
I'm going to give it a 1.5 again.
Shall I give it a 0.5 again? The acting's bad. Some of the dialogue is historically accurate, if not delivered poorly.
Someone did say gay power, but it wasn't someone that looked like Danny.
And that lesbian in the thing was like, aren't
somebody
you guys
help
going to
me.
do something?
Yes.
Or whatever.
And Marsha P. Johnson did say something about rights when she was throwing her bag at the cops.
Yeah. I'll give it 1.
Okay. I just don't think it's a good movie. In case you hadn't worked it out by now, listeners.
In case you haven't worked it out.
Okay,
we've not got off on the best foot, have we? Also, this part of dialogue, maybe I'll change my score.
Yeah.
The ending.
Yeah.
Like, not the ending, but the pre-ending.
Yeah, okay.
So riots.
When he goes back to town.
Riots, then they have this discussion of like, I can never love you. Or however badly he says it.
Yeah, because we're too different.
But that's a good thing. Oh, anyway, fucking up the accents.
You're not good with accents.
That's fine. But then I didn't need the mushy, shitty ending that is so shit. And why go home? We've touched on it a bit. Why go home back to fucking not Kansas?
No, because you got to go see your sister.
Got to go see your sister. Don't go to Joe. And go, hello, Joe. And then go, Vic. And then it's like, isn't it? And then it's like, we're doing a parade. Like, fuck off. You didn't need that. Just go 1 year later. And it's like, hey, we're back. Woo, everything is all right now in the world.
Yeah, no, it does seem to be like, oh, this is the first parade. And from now on, all the parades are going to be great.
Yeah.
You know that parade you went on last year? They're all like that from 1970 onwards.
Yes, and they all had tens of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And just the mum and the sister.
And even though...
And then they dedicate it to the unsung heroes.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
No, but also, like, he didn't even do anything
Do we
to
bleep,
validate.
Do we bleep this out?
No.
Okay.
Didn't
Sorry,
even
everybody.
do anything to validate the Sung heroes.
Yes.
Like, didn't represent Marsha P. Johnson well. Storm Dalveri,
Yeah.
saying that terribly,
Yes.
wasn't even kind of represented.
I guess what he was doing now was there were more people at the Stonewall riots other than the usual
Main
suspects,
people you hear
for
of.
lack of a better word.
Yeah.
That get mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
So he's coming up with these other people to see these other people like this were there. Maybe that was what he was going for.
For the 20 minutes of riot that were in the movie.
Yeah. I don't know.
I would have much preferred a movie named Christopher Street that goes into some of the other characters on Christopher Street around that time.
Yeah. I would have preferred if he just didn't make the movie.
That's true.
I'm going to make a movie about Stonewall and make it good.
So, overall,
What's the lowest I can give it?
I'm just going through my other notes to see. There was too much romance.
There was too much. We could go away together.
And for the
We
amount
could
of
get a place.
and for the amount of time the mafia and the bonds and the raids were mentioned, I found it really hard to find any actual information about that.
Also, other than the little prologue about Stonewall,
Yeah, the typewriter.
it
And about the
took
tough
about
rights.
what, like 35 minutes before anybody in the movie actually mentioned the place of Stonewall. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to go to Stonewall tonight. I'm like, fucking finally, we get there.
But also I didn't... And that whole prologue was about all the things that it's illegal for gays to do this, it's illegal for
Yeah.
liquor license, it's illegal to congregate, you can't dance. Stonewall was the only place where dancing happened, which is why it was so popular.
But then also it was like they didn't mention the illegal is it three clothing rule?
They vaguely said some line
They
to it.
vaguely said it, but they didn't do that in the prologue.
And Kong was like, I'm only wearing one piece of clothing.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? I don't get it.
Because it was like illegal.
Glossed over.
It was illegal to.
No, I've got
be
over...
in public.
I've gotten it now that I've looked into
Oh,
it.
yeah.
But I didn't get it because of Roland Emmerich.
Yeah, but Jonathan Rhys-Meyers mentioned it quickly, but didn't go into it. It was just like, oh, they just arrest the trannies because of the three clothes rule.
Yeah.
Apologies for my language, but that's what was in the movie.
But then he also fell in love with Danny, but then just left.
I don't know.
He just left Danny in the bar with Ray and that first night they met. He was like,
Ray gave
I really,
a fake ID.
I really like you, but I'm actually just going to leave
But
you here with these people that I don't like.
I just live across the street.
Yeah. Because the story escalates so quickly, even when they do get to the riot, the impact is lost.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just feels like a fight,
I felt
not something that's been
it
built
was
up
almost
to.
depicted, and we were meant to feel bad for the police.
Yeah.
Because then they were trapped in there, and
Yep.
it was on fire, and how are they going to get out?
Yeah. So
Can I give it a 0.5?
I'm going to say a couple of more things about the bonds, right? Because I
Okay.
looked into it.
The war bonds.
No, not the war bonds.
Right.
They're bonds that were apparently stolen, right? So
Right.
it made it into the movie. And we've discussed a lot of historical, actual stuff from the Stonewall riots and that time that didn't make it.
Yeah, like a lot of people.
This is the quote,
Mm.
and I know it's from Wikipedia, but it's the best quote I could find about it.
Okay.
Historian David Carter deduces that when the police were
Deduces.
unable to receive kickbacks from blackmail and the theft of negotiable bonds, they decided to close the Stonewall Inn permanently.
Yes.
So this is not based on fact, like this information. It's a historian has deduced that mafia owners were blackmailing wealthier customers,
Right. Yes.
but somehow that made it into the movie.
yeah.
This is the summary that Google has. Stonewall, 2015, a drama about a fictional protagonist who interacts with fictionalized versions of some of the people in and around the riots.
In and around the riots. That's funny. Some of the people.
A fictional protagonist interacts with fictionalized versions of some of the people in and around the riots. So even the description on Google is vague
Yes.
and not really about the
Like
riots.
that Morbius review.
Yeah,
Sorry, I just lost my voice. I've been yelling at
describe
movies.
more memes.
The whole Mattachine Society,
Yes.
they...
Did you say Mattachine? I'm saying Mattakine.
Mattachine.
Does it say Mattakine in the movie?
Mattachine.
Sure, they said Mattakine.
Oh.
Anyway, whatever. Roland Emmerich didn't get it right then, maybe.
I thought it was Mattachine from my previous knowledge.
Okay.
Just briefly mention that guy and then in the end go, he was great.
On definitions.net, all they've done is done matter. They've put a dot between the two T's and a dot between the A and the CH. They haven't told me how to pronounce it.
Mattachine. Mattachine? I don't know how.
Well, I don't know whether
I didn't study linguistics.
No, I didn't. That's true.
Oh, I thought you did. Didn't you say that before?
I did.
Fuck. Is that like how I studied science?
Well, no, hang on.
Okay.
Mattachine.
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 Mattachine. Did you make that gay? Did you just make it?
Mattachine.
Mattachine. Okay.
Mattachine.
I hope you heard that on the podcast.
There
Anyway,
was one that
overall.
I will do the impersonation of how your computer read it out.
Yeah, well, that's on
It was like
howtopronounce.com.
The woman goes Mattachine, and then the guy goes a Mattachine.
Hang on.
Mattachine.
Mattachine. Okay, hang on.
Mattachine.
That was Trevor.
Mattachine.
All right. Overall,
Oh,
my overall note says a pretty loose connection to the riots is the hook to tell a fairly standard troubled love story.
that was quite eloquent.
It glosses over a lot of stuff, and if part of the aim is to broaden awareness of the riots and the start of the gay rights movement, I think it doesn't have nearly enough depth. I would have preferred a movie that centered on the riots to be titled Stonewall.
Yes.
Make a movie about the riots, call it Stonewall. Make a movie about Danny on Christopher Street. Done.
Yeah.
And then a tidal wave
on
comes and then you
Christopher
can make it a Roland Emmerich movie.
Miracle on Christopher Street. My final thoughts are it is a badly written, badly acted, badly representative story about a very important time in gay and queer history, and I found it offensive.
So what are you giving it?
A 0.5.
Okay. So
Is that? Can I do that?
yeah,
Can I give it a? I'm not going to
give
give
it a point.
zero.
You can give it a
I'll
0.25.
give it a 0.5 for effort. Actually, no, they didn't put much effort in.
Okay, so for
0.5,
presentation,
0.5.
it's got a 4.5. For
From-
representation,
That's okay. Out of 10.
it's got a 2. For iconicness, it got a 2.
I sound like Muttley when I laugh.
For dialogue, got a 2.5. And for entirety, it got a 1.5.
Did you give it a 1?
Yeah. So out of 50,
Oh my lord.
8.5, 11, 12 and a half.
Jesus. I don't know if
12
we
and a half out of 50.
started with the best movie. So
All
it's
right.
only go up from here. I can't imagine a movie worse than this.
No.
But hey, if you've got any suggestions
Can
out
I
there...
say what I'm picking for us to do next? Yeah. If you do have any suggestions out there, at Rainbow Popcorn Pod is our socials. So follow us there, but also
Not the
follow...
product.
No. Also follow the Two Brothers ENT on the socials, because then you get to keep up with all of our other podcasts. Do you want me to tell you now what we're going to watch next week?
Is it another movie that's a depiction of a historical event that's done well?
No.
Oh, okay.
We're going to watch The Birdcage next.
Oh, okay.
Because we've just watched 2 Robin Williams back-to-back on Two Drink Cinema. And we're going to
want
watch
more
another
Robin
Robin Williams, and we've kept this off the Two Drink Cinema list so that we can put it on the
purpose.
Rainbow Popcorn list. So, welcome to Rainbow Popcorn.
Apologies for the first choice
The
of movie.
podcast.
This was my idea. I will own up and say it was my idea. I said my idea of this was we're
Yep.
starting a gay movie podcast.
Yep.
Why don't we start with what apparently started gay rights?
Yeah.
Stonewall. Makes sense in my mind. I didn't know it was such a bad movie when I made that suggestion.
Now
So
we do.
apologies. Now I
and
can't be trusted, so Lee chooses the movies.
So I've chosen The Birdcage, which we've watched before, which
Many
we know
times.
is good. So,
I have a very gay story about that I will not say on air.
okay. Thanks for listening to Rainbow Popcorn. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week. Make sure you've hit subscribe on the podcast and make sure you've hit subscribe on the Two Brothers Entertainment YouTube channel to keep up with all of our content. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Lee.